എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. മലയാളം അറിയാം. സോ ദാറ്റ്സ് എ പ്ലസ്. മലയാളി അല്ല, പക്ഷേ ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടമാണ്. കേരളം ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടമാണ്. എല്ലാ പുസ്തകത്തിലും കേരളം കുറേ ഉണ്ട്. സോ I really learnt Malayalam because I'm not a Malayalam. Malayalam is a very hard, difficult language to learn. But I learnt it, like I took that Onnam Padam and all that and learned. So very, very happy to be here. Valre Sandosham.
Preeti, could you tell us a little about your background? I mean,
So by background, you mean my early life or?
early life. I mean, just
Okay. So I have always written, okay? From when I was a child, I have written. My first book was at the age of 5 or 6. And that book was 6 pages long. 4 pages was story and 2 pages was drawing. And whenever I did not like any drawing, I still draw. I'm also an artist, I still draw. So I went to school in Kendra Vidyalaya. My father had a transferable job. And every year we would get the textbooks. And whenever I did not like a drawing, I will make my own drawing of that character, you know. So I'm a person who loves to write. I'm a person who loves to paint and draw. Basically anything to do with creativity I really like. And I moved a lot as a child because my father had a transferable job. And so we went from place to place. So my childhood was in several places in India. After I got married, my husband's job was also like that. So and now finally I live in Bangalore. So this is about me.
okay. Thank you. So you are basically your mother tongue is Konkani.
Yes, my mother tongue is Konkani.
And you spend most of your childhood days in Kerala, right?
No, I used to visit Kerala every summer vacation.
Every summer
Because my grandparents lived here.
Okay,
But I did not spend my childhood here. Childhood was outside Kerala.
So you are a polyglot, I think. You know multiple languages.
Yes. Because I speak Tamil, Malayalam, Hindi, English, Konkani, and Marathi I can understand. I love language. Kannada I can speak.
So how these cultural factors influence your creativity?
Yeah.
Different cultural factors are there. I mean, ഇവിടെ ജനിച്ചു കൊങ്കൺ ഭാഷയിലാണ് മാതൃഭാഷ. കേരളത്തിലും തമിഴ്നാട്ടിലും ഒക്കെ ആയിട്ട് ഒരുപാട് കാലം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. മെട്രോസിൽ ജീവിച്ചു, ബ്രിട്ടനിലും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ഇതൊക്കെ കൂടെയുള്ള ഈ കൾച്ചറൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഇത്തരം ഒരു സങ്കരമായിട്ടുള്ള സംസ്കാരം എങ്ങനെയാണ് താങ്കളുടെ എഴുത്ത് ജീവിതത്തെ സ്വാധീനിച്ചത്?
Yeah, so most of my books are set in different places. There's a book called 100 Little Flames, and Pondicherry is featured a lot in that book. And it will feel very real, okay? And I lived in UK, and this latest book, All the Love You Deserve, it's partly set in Varkala, partly set in Birmingham. And you'll really feel that you are on the beaches of Varkala. And when you read it, you'll really feel you're in Birmingham. And without traveling to Birmingham, you can travel through my book. Because, and some of my books are set in Mumbai. And whichever place I have lived, I try to absorb the language, the culture, and all of it like finds a way into my book. So whatever my experiences have been, my books will be set in very realistic places.
Okay. So about this book, All the Love You Deserve, what inspired you to weave around these characters, Pooja, Arush and Sujit?
Yeah. So how many of you have read the book, When Love Came Calling? How many have read it? So no one has read the book. So what I will do is I will read the back blurb. So it's the story of 3 young people, Arush, Pooja and Sujit. Pooja is from Kochi. She comes from a very rich family. Her father is a businessman. She's got a 10,000 square feet penthouse on Marine Drive. And her mother is a surgeon. Pooja's sister has written the CAT exam, got through MBA. She's a banker. And Pooja fails all her classes. Okay, so Pooja is the black sheep of the family. And Pooja says, everyone says, find your purpose. But what if you don't know what your purpose is? Okay, so that's Pooja for you. And then there is Arush. Arush is a boy born and brought up in Britain. And the only thing Indian about him is his name. That's all. His father raised him in UK. So, and Arush is a very sorted boy. He studies hard. He wins an art scholarship and he comes to Kerala. And then Pooja and Arush, there's a connection. And the first book, so this is actually the second book. The first book is called When Love Came Calling, and that won the most popular fiction award by Times of India. So this is actually the second book in that series. So
But
in
it
the
is
first
not-
book, Sujit is like a good for nothing person. Okay, he does weed and he sells cannabis and all of that. So basically, I have taken all the problems which young people today face, and I have written this book, which is set in the post-pandemic times. And that first book, കുറേ parents ആ book വായിച്ചിട്ട് എനിക്ക് കത്തെഴുതി saying that we understood our children because of you. And that was very satisfying because I was thinking only young people will read my book. So I was very happy when parents wrote to me saying we understood our teenagers. So now our protagonists have faced the pandemic like all of us. And I think the pandemic changed every single one of us, whether we are old, whether we are young. We have been through unimaginable losses. So that's what this book is about. And since you all don't know about the book, I will just read the back blurb so you get a good idea of what the book is about. Pooja and Arush, separated by 5,000 miles, are steadfastly committed to each other. They believe that they can make it work until time zones and life gets in the way. Sujit, trapped between his troubled past and turbulent present, desperately wants to break free, but does not know how to. He hopes to make things right with Pooja, but will she ever forgive him? Even as three of them grapple with life in the post-pandemic world, each must discover their calling and manage family, relationships, and their own unruly emotions. But then, no one said being an adult was easy. This is the story of three young people from starkly different backgrounds and intertwined faiths, fighting for what they value most. What will they have to give up to get what they want? So we always have to give up something to get what we want. And that's what our protagonists have to do as well. And that's what this book is about.
So, most of your novels deal with human relations. So, I can say you are a relationship expert.
Yeah.
So, how do you explore the personal relationship and family dynamics of your characters within your literary world?
So every book of mine, there will be a very strong family connection because I believe as Indians, namakku family വളരെ important ആണ്. So no matter what we achieve, നമുക്ക് അച്ഛൻ്റെയോ അമ്മയോ little bit of that approval നമുക്ക് വേണം because that is what we are as Indians. We want that approval. We want to have a good connection. Whether we have a brother or a sister, family relationships are very important to us. And so all my books, even though the characters are modern, for example, Pooja is like a very modern girl. She's living in Kochi. Even for her, her family connection is important. Arush is born and brought up in the UK, but he is helping in his aunt's restaurant. Next door, his aunt is there. And his aunt runs a restaurant. His uncle has died in the COVID times, and aunt finds it very difficult. But Arush helps. Because for Arush also, family is important. And because I think as Indians, we cannot take the family away from us. For us, whatever happens, family is very important. And every book of mine, I have given importance to this family. So I have a book, it's called 100 Little Flames, and it's been translated into Malayalam also. Several of my books have been translated into Malayalam and many other languages. So in that, that's the story of a grumpy old man, Gopal Shankar. Okay, and he's like very angry with the world. And he's an old man, his joints are aching. So, and that's a story of a relationship between a grandfather and a grandson, and the grandfather's story. So every book of mine, literally, I have explored these family connections because I feel as Indians, we are rooted in our families. Without our family, it's nothing. Like in the West, 18 വയസ്സാകുമ്പോൾ, you just start bye-bye. You just go on your own. You work on your own. And we have a friend from the UK. So he was like very surprised. He said, I have two children. My son is 26, my daughter is 22. So he's saying, you let them stay without rent in your house. He's asking us, okay. So I found it so funny. How can I take rent from my children? But that was his thinking, So their mindset is very different. As Indians, our mindset is very different. We slog very hard to make a house so that we can give our children. But they don't do that. They just spend their money. So our cultural nuances, our values, our traditions, all of this very much I explore in the book. Hence, my books are very relatable. Any story you take, you'll say, ഇങ്ങനെ തന്നെയാണ് നമ്മുടെ വീട്ടിലും ഇങ്ങനെ തന്നെയാണ്, you'll say, you know. So that's the thing.
Yes, yes. So regarding the dedication part, you dedicate your book to this book to for Poovi and Adul, who keep me young.
Yes.
Definitely, these are your children.
Yes.
I mean, Poovi and Atul.
Yes.
So, what kind of a mom you are?
I'm a very relaxed mom, okay? And my son is working now in Singapore. He's 26. My daughter is working in London. She's 22. My son is also a tattoo artist. He does hand-poke tattoos. So when people hear this, say, "Ayyo, tattoo. How engane sammaichu?" Like, you know. But I say that's his choice and his life because I see it as art. It's amazing that he's able to do art on someone's body, and he does hand-poke tattoos, not even machine tattoos. And he does his own designs. So for me, I'm a very relaxed mom, and for me, creativity is very important. And every day I talk to my daughter. So, and the thing is, time in UK, by the time she finishes work, it's 11 o'clock in India. So I'm constantly sleep deprived because 1-2 hours we'll talk. By the time I go to bed, it's 12:30, and I get up by 6:30. So for me, that connection with my children is very important. And that's what my daughter was telling me, that she's saying, Mama, a lot of my friends tells lies to their parents because their parents are strict. But with you, I can discuss everything, you know. So that kind of a mother. I'm a chilled out mom, I would like to think. Okay. But I was also a very strict when it came to their studies
tiger
and
mom.
routine. Yeah, I was not a tiger mom at all.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to be a tiger mom because that was something shocking. Okay. Certain routines I had and limitations. Apart from that, they could do anything.
Okay. So, somewhere I read, your second book was rejected 39 times.
Yes, more than 40 times,
Okay.
in fact. Yeah.
So, you advise parents to teach your children the failures. What's your take on that?
I think it's very important to fail because the lessons that we learn from our failures are much bigger than the lessons we learn from our success. Because when you have success, you will have many friends. Failure is always an orphan. And I know this because I experienced it. My second book was rejected over 40 times. I got rejected not only in India. I went to UK, there also I got rejected. The book was about mental health. It's about a girl with bipolar disorder. And I had done a lot of research to write that book. I had spoken to a psychiatric nurse. When I traveled to India, I went to Nimhans. And they showed me around. And it affected me very deeply, you know, because I said, നമുക്കെല്ലാം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ mental health ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ അടുത്ത് ഒന്നുമില്ല. It's very sad, and that's the fact of life, that if mentally, even one small disturbance, whatever success we have, it's of no use. So for me, I researched a lot to write it. And I really think parents have to tell their children, it's okay to fail. As parents, we want them to succeed, of course, and we want them to spare the pain of failure. But the thing is, I think if you don't allow them to fail, you are denying them a growth opportunity. Because you grow a lot from your failure. You learn resilience, you learn humility, you learn that you are not the greatest person on earth, or whatever you have is not the most important thing. So I think failure is extremely important life lessons, and parents have to accept it. It's okay if you have failed. It doesn't matter, you know. Because as Indian parents, for us, failing in academics means, my God, finished. So, but it's okay. Because you can always try. Your marks do not define you. So my children used to do very well in studies, and I was in Pune at that time. So ഈ അമ്മമാർക്കൊക്കെ ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഗ്രൂപ്പിൽ ചോദിക്കും എത്ര മാർക്കാണ്. And my son used to get 90, 92. I'll never say that he's got these marks. Because I feel if I say that he's got it, some other child who is not got, the mother will compare. You know, അവൻ അത്ര മാർക്ക് കിട്ടി, നിനക്ക് എന്താ കിട്ടാത്തെ? That will be the next question. So I feel so important to not compare, and so important to fail because we grow from our failure.
Yes. Okay. So Preeti, regarding the book, I just want to tell you, you said you have done a lot of research for writing books. What kind of research do you do for writing books? I mean, this book is All the Love You Deserve is different from your other book. So you change your topics. So what kind of research, primarily you do for your writing for books?
I will tell you a small example. Usually, the research that I do does not show in the books. Okay, so there I have written a book called The One You Cannot Have. അതിലൊരു സീൻ ഉണ്ട് 17th ചാപ്റ്ററിൽ ഒരു ഫാദർ ഉണ്ടാവും ബോധം കെട്ട് വീണുവാണ് ബിക്കോസ് ഹി ഹസ് നോട്ട് ഈറ്റൺ ബട്ട് ഇഫ് ഹി ഹസ് നോട്ട് ഈറ്റൺ ദെൻ amount of research I did is a lot because then I know his blood sugar has to be this much. If blood sugar has to be this much, that means several things had to happen in the earlier chapters for him to not eat. Okay, and then only he can faint. So it is not that he just fainted. So I have read up medical things of at least 10, 12 things, understood the phenomenon, then written. But the reader will not know it. The reader will not, because I'll never cheat my reader. So whatever you read in my books, it's well researched and no one can fault that. So I have a friend, not a friend, he's actually my doctor. So I'll always message him and ask, is this the right thing? And he will say, I am your partner in literary crime, he will say, you know. And in some other books, like someone has had an accident. So I know the exact procedure of what has to be followed when the accident victim comes to the medical center. So it will never be false. So, and whatever I have written in life is whatever, any of my books, if you take it, the history and all of this will be perfect. Because for me, I am a person for whom facts are very important. Even though it's a work of fiction, the reader should not be, cheated. So another book I have written, A Place Called Home. I have done the complete, it's set in a coffee estate, okay? So complete research I did of the coffee estate. Arabica, what kind, how many petals are there in the Arabica flower? Robusta, what kind? And I can talk very authoritatively because I have done the research. So we went to Coorg and I said, so there was a person who was showing us the plantation. And then, I said, okay, Arabica is like this is mulching, this is this thing. He's saying, are you a planter? I said, no, I'm only a writer, but I do my research. So this kind of research I do to write my books.
ഈ ബുക്കിൽ തന്നെ ഇതിൽ പല പാർട്ടിലും കൊളോണിയൽ ഹിസ്റ്ററി വരുന്നുണ്ട്.
Yes.
Especially the Birmingham part and you are switching over to Birmingham to വർക്കല. അതിനെപ്പറ്റി ഒക്കെ കുറച്ചൊന്ന് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്താൽ if you can read it.
I think you had marked out a page to read.
Yeah.
So I will tell you a small example. So in this book, okay, I'll get a small example of the kind of research that goes into it. So even in UK, there is racism is very much there. Okay, it's very much there. And so in this, there's a black character called Naomi. And I'll read a small part of it, which will give you an idea of the kind of research that has gone into this book. Though on the face of it, it seems like a simple book. So Naomi and Arusha working together, and this scene is happening in the UK.
110.
So Naomi said that probably her, Naomi has a grandmother who is black, so I will read that part. Can you believe nobody would rent out a home to my grandparents in Birmingham because grandpa was black? Also, he couldn't work in an office because a black man working with white girls in the office was considered unsafe, Naomi said. How did they meet? I asked. They were a part of the same technical college where my grandpa was sent over by the Air Force for training. He asked her to marry him when she was only 19, and later he moved here for her. They spent a happy 62 years together. She died in her sleep, and 2 months later, he died too. I always feel he died of a broken heart and couldn't bear to be without her, Naomi said. They really have faced a lot. Did you face anything at all growing up? I asked. Naomi said that probably her experience was different from most people's, but she was only aware of her mixed race when they had to write personal essays about family, and she always wondered what color her skin was when they had to make self-portraits. She had spent most of her life in Nottingham, and she never faced any discrimination. She asked me if I had. I never thought much of it either. As a teenager, I think I went a minor identity crisis. I thought I had to choose where I'm really from, India or Britain. I felt England was home and I felt British. But I wondered if that was tantamount to denying my roots and my heritage. But now I just feel fortunate to have two countries. So this is the kind of research about, when did the grandfather come? What place did he come? What Air Force? This is a small part. It's not even the main story. But when you read it, you get a real feel. And this identity crisis, I think it's come directly from my life. Because every summer vacation, I would visit Kerala, but my mother tongue is Konkani. So I had a very strong thing. So they'll say, Malayali ano? I'll say, Allah, Malayali Allah. My mother tongue is Konkani. But then my parents are born and brought up here. And we always speak our language. So that kind of is translating into Arush when he's unable to choose between India and UK. And my children also went through the same thing when we used to live in UK. I didn't want them to forget their Indian culture, so I would show them movies. This was, of course, many years back. So I think all of that find a way into my books. This identity crisis, who are we, where do we belong, our language, our culture. So that kind of things will always be mentioned in my books.
So forgiveness is an important topic in this novel, your current novel. So can you just elaborate more on that? What kind of lessons that you want to give to the readers?
Yeah. So when you read the book, you will never feel that I am giving any lesson because I don't believe in preaching. Okay, I think preaching I leave for the Buddhist monks and all of that. But the thing is, if we are not forgiving someone, we are the people getting burnt. That person may not even remember. That person has moved on with their life. And in this book, Sujit has done a very big wrong to Pooja because she has got arrested because of him. So in the second book, he's taking therapy and he wants to reform his life. And he writes her a letter saying, I am not the same person. So, and it reminded me of a story of Buddha. Okay, it reminded me, and this kind of taken from there, the lesson is taken from there. So Buddha was sitting under a tree and every day he was preaching. And one young boy would come there and listen to him. And the young boy was not going to school. And every day he would bunk school and come and listen to Buddha. And the boy's father got very angry. So he went to Buddha and he said, what are you doing? You're pulling my son away from school. And Buddha didn't say anything. And the boy's father spat on Buddha. Okay, he spat and his spit fell on Buddha. Buddha did not react. He just sat there. And he went away. Then next day the man felt very regretful. He felt very bad that what have I done to Buddha? I will go and say sorry. So he went there and he said, look, I'm very sorry. I lost my temper yesterday. I spat on you. And Buddha said, no, you did not spit on me. He said, sir, I don't think you remember. I'm that boy's father. I spat. So Buddha said, I'm not the same person. You're not the same person. We have changed. Every cell in our body has changed. Then what is there to remember? So the concept of forgiveness in this story comes across very strongly. And I think it's very important. Forgiveness is important if you want to move on in life. That concept I have taken, and in this book, Pooja decides to forgive Sujit for all the wrong that he has done. Because, Sujit writes a very long letter. There are reasons given and all of that. So, yeah, that's one of the subtopics in the book, forgiveness.
So as an author, do you see a common thread that unites Sujit, Arush, and Pooja despite their different cultural backgrounds?
Yes, there is, because they are all young people. And all young people across all cultures are alike. Okay, they have the same problems. They fall in love. They get jealous, almost like all of us in love, not only young people. And in our times, we could not really make other people jealous. Okay, here, even if you have broken up, to make them jealous, you will post a story and then with somebody, and then you will check, has the person seen the story or not? We never had all that. If we broke up, all we had to do was tear up that little phone book and throw it away and move. We'll never see that person again. But here you can stalk on social media. You can check what they are doing. You can turn off your last scene on WhatsApp so that they don't know if you're online. So all of those complications are very much a part of life. And that in this book also, Pooja does all that. She wants to make Arush jealous. So she, there's this very handsome, well-built kayaking instructor in Varkala. And Pooja posts nice photos with him so that she knows Arush will see and get jealous. And I think these are things which young people do today. And so hence it's very relatable. So Pooja, Arush and Sujit, all of them face this problem.
So how did you approach the long distance relationship of these characters in this novel? I mean, they are from Workala and they are from Birmingham. So how did you want to check the authenticity of narrating the different experience of these characters in different spaces?
So I think COVID has made us all experts in long distance relationship, isn't it? We all learned to navigate. And I think they were also COVID friends. So during COVID, when we were all locked down, we had some friends. And after COVID, when life went back to normal and we could see other people, then we were not friends anymore. I think most people have gone through that. At least the people I observed went through it. And in this book, Pooja and Arush, I had written that book before COVID, and it was a contemporary novel. So this book, naturally their story has to continue, and naturally they are older. So this book is set in the present times, but COVID has separated them, like it separated many people. And the thing is, when you don't see a person and when you only talk on the phone and the screen, there is bound to be a distance. Because I think this physical connection and seeing each other is important in a relationship. So there is a slight tension between Arush and Pooja because they have not met each other for 2 years. So it's very realistic, and whatever I have put are from observations, from people I have observed, from how we interact, from how COVID changed us. All of that finds a way into this book.
Okay, the book discusses a lot on post-pandemic times. Yeah. Do you think the grief has shaped us, or can grief shape us?
100%. I think grief has really shaped us, and the way we deal with grief, it has an impact on the rest of our lives. So I myself started writing to get over the death of my father. All of a sudden I lost him. I was very close to him. My children were small at that time. I was living in Pune. One moment he was in conversation with my mother. And he was supposed to visit me a week later. Even the tickets were booked. Next moment he had died in his sleep. And no age-related illness, nothing. Next morning he has meetings set up. That morning he has gone for a 5-kilometer walk. And for me it was a huge thing that happened to me. Every morning I would wake up and I would feel like someone has slapped me. But I had 2 small children to take care of. So I continued with my life. And then I said, this grief is something which absolutely shapes us. Because how are we going to respond to that grief? Where are we going to find our resilience from? What is going to be our strength? How are we going to get over someone whose loss can never be replaced? My father has not seen a single book of mine because my success came after he passed away. So for me, always any book I write, the awards I get, it will always be tinged with sadness because he's not there to see it. Of course, people will say things like he's watching you from heaven, it's his blessings. All of that is there. But of course, grief shapes us. And in this book too, Arish is devastated by grief. He's lost his uncle and all his creativity has frozen. In the first book, he's a very upcoming artist. He draws a lot and all of that. In this book, he just can't paint. It's just not there. He says painting is not like making chapati, where we take some dough and we can paint. And painting is something that has to come from within. So he has to find a way to unfreeze that creativity. So yes, grief does shape us.
ഓക്കെ, ഈ ബുക്കിൽ മാത്രമല്ല പ്രീതിയുടെ ഒരുപാട് നോവൽസിലും എക്സ്റ്റെൻസീവ്ലി ഈ ബുക്കിൽ ഒരുപാട് മലയാളം ടേംസ് യൂസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ആൻഡ് ഓൾസോ യു റൈറ്റ് മോർ ഓൺ ദ ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് ആസ്പെക്ട്സ് ഓഫ് ദ നേച്ചർ ഓഫ് ലാൻഡ്സ്കേപ്സ് ഓഫ് കേരള. ഇസ് ഇറ്റ് എ ഡെലിബറേറ്റ് അറ്റംപ്റ്റ്? ഒരു ഡെലിബറേറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് വരുന്നതാണോ അല്ല ഫ്ലോയിൽ ചെയ്യുന്നതാണോ?
No, because if a book is set in Kerala, naturally he'll call his elder brother Cheta. He's not going to call him Bhaiya or Anna or anything else. Or he's not going to call him by name. So yes, Malayalam words are needed when you're setting a book in Kerala. So in my 100 Little Flames, there is a person who's taking care of Gopal Shankar, and there I have used Muttachan, okay, because he calls Muttachan, and then he eats puttukadla, he eats idiyappams too, because that is the food. And in this book, Sujit opens a restaurant and fish, he calls it a fishy business. So all the fish, I don't eat fish myself, but I did all the research on all the fish, all this, whatever the fish is there, I describe it in such a way that you feel like eating it. So I was in Assam and they said, you must be a big fish lover because you have described all the fishes so well in this book. I said, no, I don't eat fish, but I've done the research. And I think it's very important to showcase the place. If you're setting a novel in Kerala, നമുക്കത് പഠിച്ചാൽ കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ ഫീല് വരണം. So obviously Malayalam words will be used. And in UK, when you read it, you have to feel you're in Birmingham. Because I lived in UK and I found it amazing. There are some beautiful facts in the book. So I went on a walking tour. So I have a friend who is a walking tour guide in Scotland. So the way they explain it is beautiful. And we don't have that in Kerala. In Kerala, I have not heard of walking tours. And I feel in Kerala, we have a lot to offer. And if someone starts walking tours, it will be great in Kerala. So for me, it's like I'm very true to my story. I'm very true to my characters. Appo it's the need of the story to use Malayalam words. I will use Malayalam words. It doesn't matter because I'm not going to anglicize it and say, oh brother, how are you? Because no one talks like that. We will say cheta only,
So, have you faced any specific challenge while writing novels?
So this particular book was really hard to write because it has 3 points of view. Okay, it has Arush's point of view, Sujit's point of view, Pooja's point of view. It has 2 time zones. So when this is happening, and they are all interconnected. So you can imagine how complicated it was to get a story where everything is connected. So if this is happening in Arush's life, the time is this in UK, this is happening in Pooja's life, this is this in this thing. When you read the book, you will feel very smooth. You will not know the work that has gone into it. So whenever I'm writing a novel, I have this huge chart stuck on my cupboard. So I plot that way, So I'll take this and I will stick it here on post-it notes. I'll say this will happen here. If this has to happen here, that has to happen here. So it was very, very, very complicated to write a simple book. Simply because different time zones, different character, and each character has an arc. Pooja's life is going like this, Arush's life is going like this, Sujit's life is going like this. But not at the same time. So you can imagine the diagram, how complicated it is. And more than 5 times I would have rewritten this book. And people tell, oh, it's a very simple book. It's not a simple book. It's very complicated, but when you read, I want the reader to have a very nice, smooth experience. So I do all the work. And most of my books are like that. You will feel it's simple, but they'll deal with deeper issues like abandoning old people, one of the books. Women empowerment, because we never think mothers can have wishes. But one of my books, Secret Wish List, deals with that. ഒരു അമ്മയുടെ wish എന്താണ്? Like, have you ever thought of what a mother wants? What are her wishes? So themes like that I explore through my writing, but in very simple way, as in simple language, deeper themes.
Okay, if your characters had social media profiles, which platform would they choose? It's a tricky question.
Pooja would definitely choose Instagram because she's a huge Instagram fan. And, her reels go viral and all that. Sujit is a little bit of a networker. So for him, LinkedIn. He should open a LinkedIn account and network with everybody. And Arush hates social media. So he will not choose any social media. And he did not even have an account. The only time he opens Instagram is to stalk Pooja. So yeah, those are the 3 platforms they would choose.
Okay. How did you make all these characters in a more relatable and creative or unique in their way?
Yeah. So for me, when I'm creating a character, first I will create the character and I have a list of 30, 40 questions which I will answer about the character. What do they do in their free time? How was their house like? Where did they grow up? What are they afraid of? What are their favorite books? Even what toothpaste do they use? Do they leave the bathroom messy or clean? The reader may not get to know this. But in my notes, it's there, very much there. So Pooja is a complete character. Sujit is a complete character. Arush is a complete character. Even there are minor characters. There are some helpers in Sujit's kitchen. There is one boy who helps this Malini. Even Malini's will have a story. Even that Kuttan or whoever helps him will have a story. So for me, it's when I'm writing a novel, it's like a painting. Okay, there might be one, two. I'm also an artist. You guys can check out my art page, Preeti Shenoy Art. And so for me, if it's a painting, suppose we paint only 2, 3 characters. And background, if we leave hazy, it spoils the painting. So for me, a novel is like that. Okay, every character will have depth, will have a story, will have something to do with the plot which will propel it forward. So for me, everything is like a 360 degree. ഒരു minor character ആണെങ്കിലും അയാൾക്ക് flaws ഉണ്ടാവും, അയാൾക്ക് ഒരു story ഉണ്ടാവും. Because only then can he interact authentically. Because ഒരു authenticity വേണം. If suppose a character is talking to another character, it has to be authentic. And this comes only when you create the character completely. So that's very important for me.
Preeti, you are an artist, you are a painter, you are good at designing. Why can't you focus more on writing graphic novels?
It's a very good question, simply because I make more money from this book. I'm one of the highest selling authors in India. So it's just a question of commercials, because while I paint very well, like I don't think my graphic novels will sell as much as my novels sell. In fact, this book sold out, even the entire print run sold out even before it came into the market. And graphic novel, there are a lot of brilliant artists out there. You know, Appupan is like one of the well-known people, and there are so many people. So why should I also jump into that fray when I already have an established space? And one more thing is, if I do a graphic novel, it becomes a commitment, because I'll have a contract. Appo it becomes work. Okay, so whatever, whether I enjoy or not, I have to sit and do it because I've signed a contract. But here, every day I'm making a page in my journal, and I'm making it out of my own happiness. So there's no topic. I can draw whatever I want. I can post it. It's my diary, but it is illustrated. So, but if I'm doing graphic novel, it has to be a lot of work, a lot of effort, and for what? I may not even get money at the end of it. So that's the only reason I'm not thinking of a graphic novel. But again, I'll never say never, never. I might write a graphic novel. I might write a children's book, because that's always been a dream. I want to write and illustrate a children's book. So I might do it in the future.
Okay. So, could you elaborate more on your portrayal of women characters? Your women characters.
In which book? Like, if you can stand.
All the Love You Deserve, you can take. Vipanchika and Vibha, you can take. Many women characters you portrayed.
Yeah.
So, different shades of womanhood you portrayed. Regarding that.
So I'll tell you what happened. This was many years back, okay, 10, 12 years back. I was sitting in Agra, and Prahalad Kakkar was on stage. And he's a person who will rip apart whoever he's in conversation with. And I was supposed to be in conversation with him next. So എനിക്ക് ഭയങ്കര പേടിയായിരുന്നു. What is he going to say? And I'm only, 2 novels old. And then he read my book, and he said, I absolutely have nothing but praise for your book. I read it and read it and read it. And then he told me one thing. He said, your women characters are brilliant. They are strong. They are powerful. They are great. But why are your male characters so weak? He said, okay. So that was one thing which struck with me. And it was funny because I was not a very experienced novelist at that time. That was my 3rd book. So what I had done was, there is a character called Sandeep in that book. He's the husband. So I took the bad qualities of all the men I know, and I stuffed it into that Sandeep. So Sandeep is the worst person, okay, all the bad qualities he had. But imagine my utter surprise when after the book came out, people wrote to me and they said, we feel horrible because we are like Sandeep. So just imagine what kind of, people. And then a lot of people told me saying, we never realized we were that kind of a husband. And then subsequently, a lot of men wrote to me saying, why don't you write from a male point of view? So subsequent novels I have also written from a male point of view. The One You Cannot Have has a male character and it's in a male voice. In All the Love You Deserve, Pooja is there, Arush and Sujita there. So 2/3 of the book is in male voice. So now I create realistic characters. And my women characters are very realistic. In Secret Twisters, she's a housewife who doesn't really speak up. Lot of housewives wrote to me saying, you've crawled into our heads and written our stories. In Rule Breakers, again a very powerful woman character. But in some other books like 100 Little Flames, I have powerful male characters also. So now I would say it's a balance.
So, as an award-winning writer, what kind of suggestions that you want to give for young writers? I mean,
Young writers, any writers in our midst? Any aspiring writers here? No, no one is an aspiring writer. Okay. Okay, so yeah, because I said if there's no aspiring writers, I won't give any suggestions, I was thinking. But I would just say read a lot. Read as much as you can. It's so important to read. And write every single day. Write at least 500 words. It need not be for public consumption. You can write in your notebook. You can write an email. You can write a blog. You don't have to show it to anybody. But please write, because the writing muscle and the reading muscle are two different muscles in our brain. Just because we read, it doesn't automatically mean we'll become a good writer, but it helps. And the more we write, the better we become. So these are the two advice I want to give. Read every single day and write every single day.
okay, if you could have a conversation with one of your characters, who would be the one?
To be very honest, my first book is all true incidents from my life. It would be my father. So if I can cast him as a character, because he's no more and I can never talk to him again. So I don't want to talk to my characters. I would rather talk to real people, and yeah, that would be it. Because I think those human connections, like once someone goes away, it's forever, and that has kind of hit me deep. Characters are, after all, a part of my imagination. I can talk to them whenever I want. I can just close my eyes and I can have a conversation in my head with Arush or with Pooja or with Gopal Shankar or whoever, because these are characters in my head. But real people I have lost, I can never replace. And so, yeah, that would be my father I would like to talk to.
So, you are a fitness expert, right? Okay. What's your take on spiritual health among youngsters? It's a very debatable topic nowadays.
So, during the COVID times, I did something which I never thought I would do. I wrote a self-help book. Okay, so because and in that book, the reason for writing that book was very simple. There were so many people who were dying. Like my friend's brother, he was just 51, he passed away. You all also must have heard of so many people, COVID, suddenly they pass away. So I did not know whether I would be alive or not at the end of COVID, because it was a very real possibility. So I said, I want to leave something, whatever I have learned, even if I am not around, I want to leave a legacy for my children. And I wrote that book. So I've written about meditation, I've written about relationship. So the book is called The Magic Mindset. Again, it was well researched, because all my books are well researched. So I wrote The Magic Mindset for relationship, the magic mindset when you don't have control over other people's action, magic mindset for social media. And in that, there is a chapter on meditation. So I think spiritual health, mental health, all of that is extremely important. And as much as physical health is important, I think mental health is important. So I have written about those things in my non-fiction book. Like, people generally don't know that I also write non-fiction, but I have written a self-help book. I have written novels, and I think it's very important, and I've written it in a relatable way, not in a preachy way. So young people can easily take lessons from that book. The Magic Mindset. The name of the book is The Magic Mindset, How to Find Your Happy Place.
So, in one of the videos that you have posted, I saw the 10 writers who influenced or you like more. You are best authors. I mean, you like the most. And one was from Malayalam. I mean, one writer was from Malayalam. That is Benjamin. His Gold Days. So, in what way can you relate your writing experience with Benjamin's experience, or why did you choose Benjamin? This is my question.
Why did I choose?
Which aspect of Benjamin's writing?
So Benjamin, I really loved his goat days and I recommended it. On my Instagram channel, I have reviewed more than 200 books. You can just go check it out in highlights. And once it so happened that Benjamin and I were in a session on stage, and Benjamin Malayalathilaanu samsarikkunne. Most of the audience was North Indian. So I was a panel member with him, but then I felt what he said, the audience had to understand. So inadvertently, I became a translator because Benjamin പറയുന്നത് എനിക്ക് എല്ലാം മനസ്സിലാവുന്നു, and I just translated that into Hindi or English. I don't remember which language I used. And I really like his work. That's about it. Probably I should read more Malayalam writers, but I'm just waiting for their works to be translated to English. So I'm sure there are many brilliant Malayalam writers out there, and I would look forward to reading their work.
Okay. So, this is a question. One of your stories, the earlier stories, that is 35 bubble gums.
Yeah, 34 Bubblegums and Candies was my first book,
Actually.
which is republished as Love a Little Stronger.
Okay. In that book, you talked more on your nature. I mean, a lizard is one of...
About?
Nature. Yeah. Okay, what is your stand on writing on nature? I mean, in this book also, you can see you talk more on estates, inland waters. So what is your stand on writing about nature? I mean, this...
I am not an activist. I don't take any stance while writing a book. I just tell a story in the best way I can. And I am a huge nature lover. So naturally that will come into my books. The description of nature and greenery. I live in a very green place in Bangalore. When I post videos on Instagram, a lot of people think I live in Kerala. But they'll say, oh, Bangalore inganatte sthala undo, they'll say, you know. So I am a nature lover, and that finds its way into my books because, I mean, if the story demands it, I will write it. If I place the story in Mumbai, I don't think I'll be writing about nature. But a lot of my books are set in Kerala, where nature is an integral part. So hence it finds its way.
So I think it's a time for audience. So
if you all have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer.
He has a question, I think.
Hello. Do you really plan a novel, or is it a spontaneous thing? Something happens to you, or the thing, some spark comes and you start writing a novel. Is it something like that?
No, it's completely planned, right from first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, because like I said, something happens in the 18th chapter. There might be some incident in the second chapter. So if I don't plan it, then there'll be like, even after planning, I rewrite 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. So imagine if I didn't plan, I will forever be rewriting 100 times.
Do you write short stories?
Yes, I write short stories, I write poetry, I write novels, I write non-fiction, I write fiction.
Short stories are more of spontaneous writing, right?
Usually it's planned. Even my short stories are planned because it's not just, when you say spontaneous writing, it's just that you start writing and something you write and you complete it. My blogs, I would say, are spontaneous. Blog posts are spontaneous, but otherwise it's planned. Even the short story, I'll know the ending, I'll know the characters, I will know what is going to happen, and I'll have an idea, and that to develop that, I will plan. And I will research also, even for short stories.
I'm a small-time writer.
Yeah.
I write short stories.
Okay.
I'm a doctor by profession. I
Okay.
just took one day off to be here.
Okay, wonderful to meet you.
Yes, well, I am not at all in the know of you. Of course, just now I have come about your work. What I am asking is, as a creative person, as a writer, as an artist, how do you relate the commitment, social commitment, and your creativity? Though creativity is a spontaneous, spontaneous thing, and it is not made, it is actually happening. Still, I just want to get myself clarified. How much committed as a writer that you are?
I have zero social life. Zero, literally. Because I don't go to any parties. I don't go out. Yeah. No. Yeah. Socially, as in social responsibility. No. Commitment to my craft is very much there.
No. Especially in particular, I am driving to the point of about empowerment of women or
Yeah.
other social injustices.
Yeah.
And all those things that I am telling. I'm not expecting you a activist or a political thinker.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem at all. But I do think that novel is the slowest form of change. If you want to make a change in society, writing a novel about it is the slowest form. Because only a small section is going to read it, and that's not going to change the society. I feel if you want to really make an impact, probably movies or television or things like that. So for me, I just tell a story. I explore the social causes. It affects a lot of people. A lot of people message me saying my books have changed their lives. And for that, I'm very grateful. So, yeah, and whereas commitment, once I start a novel, relentlessly I will write till it's completed. The fact that I have written 16 books in 15 years speaks for itself, because I'll switch off my doorbell and I will write. So, literary festivals like this are small distractions which I allow myself. Then again, before coming to the venue, I was writing. In the hotel room, I was writing. So, it's like that.
ഞാൻ അമീർ, മലയാളത്തിൽ ചോദിക്കാം. അപ്പോൾ ഇന്ത്യ ഇന്നത്തെ ഈ സാഹചര്യം കൈവരിക്കാൻ, രാഷ്ട്രീയ സാഹചര്യം കൈവരിക്കാൻ യഥാർത്ഥത്തിൽ പ്രതികൾ എഴുത്തുകാർ തന്നെയല്ലേ? കാരണം അവർ ഇത്തരം മതഗ്രന്ഥങ്ങളെല്ലാം യഥാർത്ഥ ട്രാൻസ്ലേഷൻ ചെയ്യാത്തത് കൊണ്ട് തന്നെയല്ലേ ഈ ഗതികേട് നമ്മൾ ഇന്ത്യയിൽ മൂന്നാം കിട രാഷ്ട്രം, നിങ്ങളും ഞാനെല്ലാം ജീവിക്കുന്ന മൂന്നാം കിട രാഷ്ട്രമായിട്ട്, അതായത് മൂന്നാം കിട പൗരന്മാരായിട്ടാണ്. അതാകാൻ കാരണം ഇവിടെയുള്ള എഴുത്തുകാർ തന്നെയല്ലേ പ്രതികൾ? യഥാർത്ഥത്തിൽ പ്രതികൾ രാഷ്ട്രീയമോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മതക്കാരോ അല്ലല്ലോ. നമ്മൾ ഇരിക്കേണ്ട സ്ഥലത്ത് ഇരുന്നിൽ നായി കയറി ഇരിക്കുമല്ലോ. അപ്പോൾ അതാണല്ലോ ഇവിടെ സംഭവിച്ചത്. അതായത് എഴുത്തുകാർ തന്നെയല്ലേ പ്രതികൾ എന്ന ചോദ്യം. വേറെ റിക്വസ്റ്റാണ്, ശരിക്കും പറയണോ, അറിയണമെങ്കിൽ പറയണോ?
അല്ല, എന്താ ചോദ്യം?
അതായത്
അല്ല, ഉണ്ടല്ലോ.
ഉദാഹരണത്തിന് ഇപ്പം നമ്മളെ UK ഷേക്സ്പിയർ ഉള്ളത് കൊണ്ടാണ് അവിടെ ഇത്രയും ഡെവലപ്മെന്റ്, നല്ല ഗഡ്സായിട്ട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ തുറന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ഇവിടുത്തെ ഇന്ത്യയിലുള്ള സാഹിത്യക്കാർ തന്നെയല്ലേ പ്രതികൾ. ഇപ്പോൾ വൈക്കം MT ആയാലും ശരി, ആരാണെങ്കിലും.
No, but if you read my books, you will get a very strong social message, whether it's about mental health, whether it's about gender inequality, whether it's about women empowerment.
അപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെയുള്ള ഭീകരവാദങ്ങൾ ഇങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടാകാൻ
other writers write about that. I don't think I have to write about all the topics in the world. I will write about topics which are dear to me.
എഴുത്തുകാർക്ക് ഈ ഉത്തരവാദിത്തം ഇല്ല എന്നാ പറയുന്നത്?
It's completely upon the writer, individual writer. And I think if you ask, do the writers have a responsibility? I think it depends on the kind of books that you write. So the person before me, he was standing up here and he was waving his arms and he was talking and he was very passionate, and probably he feels a responsibility through his writing to change the world. For me, my writing is a mirror to what's happening in the society. And it's up to the people to read, to change, to not change. If my writing has made a difference in their life, I'm very grateful. But if my writing has made no difference, that's okay too. I will still write. I was writing when no one was reading me. Today, millions of people are reading. I'm still writing. And more than the writers, it's the entire society which has a responsibility for change. Writers can write, but if you are not going to read and change, what's going to happen? Nothing will happen.
Any other questions or observations you have? Yes, she has.
Over here. Can you just give her a mic?
Can you
Yeah.
just?
I'm so happy to see you first.
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
I'm so happy to listen from you.
Thank you.
That much valuable information and valuable things you have said.
Thank you.
And I'd like to ask one question. And you have told me or told to the audience and revealed that your novel, one novel, and it is rejected more than 40 times.
Yes, we spoke about that, yeah.
Yeah. And I'd like to know that how did you overcome such a situation in your life? That's my
I
question.
really had no choice, because what happened is 2 years of my life I have invested in writing that novel. So I said there is no giving up now. Because so much I've written, and I said that's a very powerful subject. No one has written about mental health. No one has written about the young people suffering. No one has written about bipolar disorder. So I really felt that book had to come out in the world. So I tried. If the 49th publisher had not published, I would have tried 100. I would have tried 200 because there simply was not turning back. There had to be someone who was willing to publish it. I did not bother about money. I did not bother about advance, nothing. I just wanted that book out. The book has sold more than 1 million copies today. It has been translated to several languages. It took me 8 years to write a sequel to that book because, I had to get into the head of the character. So I used to feel sick at the end of it, at writing, because I understood what it feels to, what it must be feeling to be trapped in your mind. So in my second book, I say, mind is your greatest enemy. What do you do when your mind is your greatest enemy? So for me, I would have not given up. I would have kept on trying.
And your perseverance actually needs a big salute.
Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we have just 1 minute left. We have time for one last question.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
I heard just that you're inspired by Benjamin, right?
Not inspired at all. She asked me, so I said that's all. Because I had not even read Benjamin till I finished writing 15 books or so. So I couldn't possibly have been inspired by
Only
him.
recommended, actually.
Huh? I recommend his books, that's all. But I recommend the books of more than 200 authors. So.
Okay. If there is a criticism that Benjamin is an overrated author, what do you feel? How do you feel like that?
That's his business, I would say. It's really not my business.
Okay.
Because I just read his book, I liked it, I recommended it. I don't analyze beyond that, oh, he's like this, he's like that. I have no idea of Kerala politics. I have no idea of what's really happening.
I thought that you're inspired by him.
No, not at all. Not the least bit. She asked me, so I said she watched a video where I'd recommended a book, so she said. And I just, narrated that as an incident which happened, that's all. Yeah.
So with this, we are going to wind up the session. Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you for being with us.